Welcome one and all. It's time for a spice-tacular voyage into the world of Age of Sigmar. Battle Report, Stormcast Eternals versus the Kruleboyz, Andy versus Rem. Battle for the ages. And as we remove the episode thumbnail, you can see this game took place at Warhammer World as you observe this image of a safely masked Remington adhering to all the COVID regulations at Warhammer World, observing one of the display cabinets there. So we are joined by Mr. Rem himself. Hello there.
Hello. Look at that good-looking fella at Warhammer World. That's a... No?
It's a good job you were adhering to all those guidelines since you were caught on camera here exclusively for this battle report.
Now, I did lose that mask, which I did really like that mask. So if anyone finds it at Warhammer World, please let me know, because I got that in Spain, and it's pretty cool. It says Pirates of Tarifa on it. Tarifa Pirates.
Talking about this mask here, you can see the orange cursor pointing straight to it.
Yeah, it did leave a sour taste in my mouth, that, Andy, that leaving the place. But there you go.
Well then, let's dive straight into the game. So, before we even tell you which battle plan we're using or anything about the forces, you can see here some of the hero commander choices that were taken for this game. The Kruleboyz and the Stormcast there. So do you want to take us through your selections here that we've posed cinematically in the centre of the battlefield?
Okay, well, look, it's a 1,500 point battle, and basically I cheated. So I went over the points.
That's normal for you, though, isn't it?
That's normal, and you know, in which historical battle ever was it evenly matched? I can't think of one. You know,
very few.
But there you go. There you go. So look, what have I got? Well, we've got a breaker boss on Maya Brute Troggoth. That's the big troll with the guy riding him on top with the poker stick. He's my general for today, and yeah, I'm quite excited to play him. You know, and he's got an artifact. I can't remember what it was. I think it was it more wounds? I can't remember. Or was it minus? Oh bugger! I can't remember. Oh no, that's it. Was he a smelly one? So he's -1 to hit.
Yes, I think that's correct.
That's right. Yeah, he's a smelly one. Now, and the other commander on the right, that is a Snatcher boss on Sludge Raker Beast,
which is
15 points.
It's a very impressive model, that though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an even more impressive paint job as well. You'll find. Now, I did toy with having the character model on him, and there are a couple of differences that I didn't realise until later that might have made a slight difference to the game. But yeah, I went for the basic Snatcher boss. He's got the amulet. I think he's got the amulet of destiny. So that's right. So the Troggoth has a mount trait, and that is that he's a smelly one, right? And the Sludge Raker has an artifact, and that gives him a 6-up ward save. It did used to be 5-up, but they changed it.
Yes, the freshly nerfed amulet of destiny.
Yeah. Now this Snatcher boss has got quite a funny rule. Once per game, if he's within 3 inches of a model, he rolls a dice. If the target single unit has, I think, less than 7 wounds,
yes,
he basically rolls a dice. And if I roll a certain thing, then basically I pick him up and stick him in the cage, and it's night for him. So that could be useful. However, your main guy has more than 7 wounds. So
yes, Bastian comes in at 8 wounds.
Yeah. So yeah, that's that one. That could be quite fun, you might say, right? And then I've got one more. Oh, you can't see him on there, but yeah, I've got a killer boss on Great Gnash Tooth.
Yes, he's hiding somewhere at the back.
Yeah.
Not quite posed for this cinematic shot, but he is there.
Yeah. And then, do you know what? I've deleted a load of the things that are on here. So,
well, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I did have a killer boss. There you see a killer boss with a stab grot. He's basic. You know, this is the first time I'm playing Kruleboyz, so let's see how they fare.
Let's see how they fare against a couple of things that I've not fielded before either. So we've got the Lord Imperatant there, and he is armed with the Mirror Shield artifact, which means that none of your sneaky long-range shooting can target him in the first turn before he's had the chance to use his ability to guide some of my forces down slightly closer than they would have been able to land without him.
Is the mirror shield in play all the time, or is it just like
Yes, it is. So you have to get really close to him if you want to shoot him. So very handy there. Then we've got Bastian, the ultimate hammer of Sigmar. And the fact that I've taken Bastian and I'm using the Hammers of Sigmar subfaction means that the Dracoth units are going to be battle line, which is very nice.
Now, Andy, is it fair to say Bastian is one of the most powerful Stormcast characters on foot?
Yes. Probably the most powerful one on foot. And if he's not fighting things that he can't kill, then he himself becomes very, very difficult to shift. Because as soon as he kills one thing in a phase, whether that's just one goblin, then he gets all his wounds back.
So let's just do a quick bullet point, right?
Yes.
Bullet point fact vault. He can lightning down.
Yes, he can. He can
right?
call on lightning in the hero phase at any enemy model, and then he rolls a number of dice equal to the wounds characteristic of that model. So if it's a big 35 wound Gargant or something, he's going to roll 35 dice and look for 6s to try and wound. No range, no nothing.
So as well as that shooting attack, he can just appear, as all Stormcast can. They can just appear from the heavens, can't they? So that's kind of a major thing, right? So you got that. He's really hard to kill because if he kills anyone in combat, he basically gets all his wounds back.
Not just in combat, in any phase. If he kills anything during a phase, then he gets all his wounds back. So that would include the hero phase where he can dish out that serious pain. So potentially he could kill a model with that.
Right. So, and then he's got a really good saving throw, I imagine.
He's got the 3-up save, obviously, which is usually going to be 2. If he's in fighting, you're going to be wanting to cast something on him to give him the extra save. And he's got his 4+ ward, obviously, as well.
That seems fair. But not only that, even though he's covered head to toe in really heavy armor, he's probably got a decent movement.
He is move 6.
Ridiculous.
Yes.
So he actually moves further than a naked troll who's twice the size of him, and his legs are reaching his head.
But he's fueled by the fury and lightning of Sigmar. What do you expect? And he's 300 points though. So
that's not all, though, Andy, because the damage that his weapon dishes out is astonishing. Can you just tell us what that is?
Well, he's only got 4 attacks, but they can do 4 damage each. So yes. And quite often he's going to be hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s if you can get him slightly buffed up.
So hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s, he can do 16 damage. So can take out most monsters in the game in one battle round.
Potentially.
Unbelievable.
You know a few 1s are always going to get rolled though. So that's enough on him. The Lord Imperatant, we've already been over him. And then we've got the Knight Incanter as well. Mainly taken for the ability to automatically unbind 1 spell during the game, because I have a feeling your magic could have been quite annoying to face. And she also took a spell that can prevent your units from piling in combat if she gets close enough to use it. So we'll see if that comes up. And another cinematic shot there, the 2 forces facing off and from above. And now the scenario, First Blood. So you can see the 3 objectives along the centre of the battlefield as we look diagonally, and you can deploy in any of these squares here in the corners. So corner deployment, you can't set up ridiculously close together, and 3 objectives to fight over. And you only really need 2 of them though. If you can hold 2 of them for the whole game, you're going to be scoring maximum points, because you get 1 victory point at the end of your turn if you hold 1, 1 if you hold 2, and then another 1 if you hold more than your opponent. So by holding 2, you will be holding more than your opponent. So if you can claim 2 for the whole game, you're going to get your main victory points accumulation there. And then, of course, battle tactics will come up as well. So, on to deployment. Now, you can see here that from my list, some of the units aren't on the table. It looks a little bit bare. That's because they're down here, slightly off camera. And I'll tell you what everything is, though. So, I've got the 3 heroes that we went through already, Bastian, the Knight Incanter, and the Lord Imperatant. There are also 2 Dracothian Guard Concussors, which are down here, gunning for this objective. We've got 5 Liberators, who are positioned here in the woods, in case they get shot at in the first turn. We've got 3 Ether Wings, down here, hiding as well. They don't want to get immediately shot off. You can see the Knight Incanter is behind the woods there. The Lord Imperatant has taken up a slightly more advanced brave position right at the front there, knowing that the enemy aren't going to get close enough to shoot him in turn 1 because of his mirror shield, so he's going to be fine. And then, deployed in the heavens, we've got Bastian. We've got 3 Annihilators with Meteoric Grandhammers, the ultimate hammer bros, basically, and 5 Retributors, who are slightly less hammery, but still pretty hammery. So I've got all the big hammers off the table, ready to swoop down, probably in turn 2.
Now, Andy, your points total is what?
My points total is 1,475.
Unbelievable. Right, now my points total was 1,520. However, when I looked more carefully at the cost for my troops, I realised I actually went a further 80 points over, because I thought you get 20 Hobgoblin Slitters for 80 points, and you don't. You get 10, which is a joke, really.
So what you're saying is you're an even bigger cheater than you thought.
Yeah, so basically, I've got 100 points more than Andy. No, not even that. I've got 125 points more than Andy, and let's just see if that's enough to do anything to his force, shall we?
So you've mentioned your heroes, you've mentioned the Hobgrot Slitters there, but you've also got 2 other units, haven't you?
Yeah.
Or,
now,
you've got a wizard as well.
Yeah, if you want to, have a look at what awful looks like in the flesh, just look no further than Hobgoblin Slitters. So that's them. They are. The word cannon fodder, I think, was truly invented for these guys. So yeah, they're just absolutely terrible. But there you go. Maybe they're just cannon fodder. I thought they might be able to hold you up, get an objective for a bit. So yeah, basically they're trash, and I needed to use some points.
But they're cheap, and there's lots of them.
They are probably the cheapest unit, I'd like to say. Yeah, I mean, they've got grenades, which I either forgot to use or I failed to use. Can't quite remember. Are the grenades any good? Not really, no.
Well, that sounds great.
There's also got special ability, which I completely forgot to use as well. So that's interesting. So if I roll a 6 when I attack you, then yeah, that's an auto mortal wound, isn't it? I think, or is that just the Kruleboyz? Can't quite remember. Yeah, they are Kruleboyz, so that's kind of cool. But if I get 6, that attack scores 2 hits on this target instead of 1. Make a wound roll and a save roll for each unit, for each hit. Oh, so maybe they don't get the venomous blades rule, so they get that instead.
Yeah, so all your units really are looking for 6s to do those mortal wounds, and then the Hobgrots just have instead of that, they have a little bonus attack.
They get the grenade, 8-inch range, 4 to hit, 3 to wound, -1 rend.
Not bad.
So there you are.
What else have you got? We can see some heroes. We already talked about this one with the Stabgrot. Who is this banner bearer here?
So this banner bearer, well, he has some interesting rules. I mean, all these rules are quite interesting until you face a force that is basically unkillable. So it's really hard for me to tell you if they're actually any good after just one game. But yeah, he holds this banner, and it's got the breath of the Mire Drakes. Basically, if an enemy is within 3-inch, I roll a dice. On a 2 to 5, the enemy suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 6, he suffers D3. So that's not too bad. That's cool. So his little hero himself, 3 attacks, 3 to hit, 3 to wound, -1 rend, doing 2 damage. So not so bad. And also, he can help. He can help stop the effects of spells on units close to him. So yeah, I'm trying to look for anything else that's good about him, but there's not a lot.
Well, that was quite a delving, probing look you had there, but not very fruitful. So who else here?
We've got 20 Gut Rippers. So they're your basic battle line, right? And they're actually pretty good. 180 points. They've got 2 attacks, 2 wounds, 5 up save. You can get that up to a 4 up save if you get your shaman to brew a brew, and you can do 2 things with that brew. You can either give units within 3 inch, something like that, a +1 saving throw, or you can give them the even more venomous encrusted weapons. And what that means is instead of on a 6 up when you hit, you dish out an auto mortal wound, it's on a 5 up. So that's pretty good when you've got 10 gut rippers, not 20. If you've got 10 of those, 2 attacks each, and you're looking for 5s and 6s to hit, giving out auto mortal wounds, that's pretty good. Especially if you remember to use that potion and remember that you put it on those orcs.
Yes. Now, that's a battle line unit, obviously. You have got another battle line unit, though, which is...
I have. I've got some bolt boys, man skewer bolt boys. These are pretty cool, man. There's a lot of spam lists going around that are just basically loads of these guys, but I think that's basically... It can be a bit of a trap, really, because there's ways to mitigate the effects of these guys. Basically, you attack first and you appear from the heavens and just put them out of action. So,
now, what's the name of the subfaction that makes the Bolt Boys the battle line unit?
yeah, so it's big yellows. Now, if you're big yellows, you can re-roll 1s to hit in the first round of shooting, which is pretty good because they've got a 2 up to hit if the target is in range, and that range being 24 inch. So a 2 up to hit, 3 up to wound, -1 rend, 2 damage. That's pretty tasty, actually, especially if you've got quite a few of them. I've only got 3, but I'm looking to take out any Stormcast that I can. So, yeah, that's that. Obviously, if we roll a 6, it's that auto mortal wound again.
Yeah, that's what you're looking for. And you've also got the... Is this the Beast Skewer Kill Bow? Have I got that right?
It is. It is. Let me just get up the rules for that, baby. Yeah, the Beast Skewer Kill Bow. Again, a 2 to hit, 3 to wound, range 24 inch. Now, you do get an extra 3 inch to your range if you are in the big yellows subfaction. So that could be pretty useful. That means it's a 27 inch range. Now, this baby is it takes down heroes and monsters if you can get the shot off. 2 to hit, 3 to wound, -2 rend, and you do some shenanigans, but you can basically do up to 12 damage, which is pretty cool.
Yes, if you're shooting at anything that's got a high wounds characteristic, it increases the damage characteristic of the weapon.
Can be cool. The only problem is you've only got 1 shot, right? And even though it's a 2 up to hit, 3 to wound, you can easily just roll a 1 or a 1 on 2 with the next dice. So no guarantees. Andy, you know all about that, don't you? With your artillery.
Particularly from using the Knight Venator, the flying Stormcast with the bow over the years, with his special once per game ability, which always rolls a 1 without fail.
Now, I've also got a killer boss on a Great Gnash Tooth, and you get this with the Dominion box set. This is just your basic, he's really cool, actually. He's a basic orc leader on a giant hound. There's not too many rules to remember. You know, he can help units not fail a battle shot test. And he gets +1 to hit when he charges, which is pretty cool. And he's got 10 wounds, which don't diminish. And that's nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, something else that's notable about this battle is that it's being played on one of these new battle mats at Warhammer World that have the new table size built into them. So there's a little bit of a gap around the edge on the new smaller playing surface. So, notable feature there. As we look at a couple of cinematic shots here, you can see into the distance slightly as the concussors are ready to go. Very well lit from my camera flash there. So, first round. Since I finished setting up first, because I had less drops than the Remster, because I had all my non-commanders, or all my non-hero units in the Redemption Brotherhood, which is a battalion that allows them all to be dropped in one go. So I only had 4 drops in my army, And Remington, I believe you only had the command entourage, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yes. So I was able to pick who goes first. And of course, I chose Remington to go first so that he would have to move forwards and then leave gaps for my Stormcast to drop down from the heavens.
Yeah,
behind
basically,
him.
What you did have on the table was out of range of my shooting. So that was a bit of a gaff by me.
Yes.
Hello, Neil C. You're right, brother. Hey, Stu. Yeah, so that was kind of a bit of a meh straight away. Because the bonus of the big yellows of being able to re-roll ones on the first turn of shooting, which means basically an auto hit, was completely negated because I couldn't reach any of Andy's troops anyway.
Yes.
And half of them weren't even on the table because they were in the heavens.
You'll also see that I gained an extra command point during the hero phase from using that heroic ability, because the other heroes won't be in range to really make use of those abilities yet, and you did not get one for your forces, so you're down on command points. And the battle tactic you've chosen, ferocious advance, so it's pretty standard. If you get the first turn, you have to run with 3 units, and they all have to end close to each other, and you just complete your battle tactic.
Now, to be honest, Andy, out of all the tactics, this was the only sort of realistic one I could do. And I didn't really want to do it. I like the way it's set up, and I didn't want to be moving my troops and running my troops out basically closer to yours, within charge range of yours. But on the other hand, I needed to get the objectives, and from experience, I know that it's important for me to rack up the
Victory
points. Yeah,
Yeah.
victory points basically. So I did sort of want to stay in my formation. I didn't want to have to run up, but there you go. That's the nature of this game. So I did sort of I did have to do this advance where a lot of my troops had to run, and guess what? They're a bit close to Andy, but they are in range of all the objectives, I believe, or at least 2 of them, right?
Yes, you do immediately get troops onto the objectives, so you will be scoring for those at the end of the round. You've got your Hobgrot Slitters here onto this objective, and that's opposite the Concussors. Is really the only thing they're going to be facing, except maybe Ether Wings, which aren't a threat. You've got your heroes backing up the rear there.
Now, before I did move those troops, I did brew a potion, which meant my Shaman couldn't move. But it does mean that those guys have some extra fighting ability. Or is it next turn? I can't remember. But yeah, this was like, oh my god, now I've got to spread my troops out thin. What do? Do I just nab the points? I sort of knew that Andy wanted to appear from the heavens behind my lines and take out my big shooting things. Not a lot really I could do about that.
Yeah, unless you just stay back and camp in your own area for the whole game, in which case I'd just drop them down on the objectives and invite you to come and take them after you've lost a turn of point gathering.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, or maybe I could have just focused on one area rather than spreading them thin. But there you go. That's that.
Indeed. So in the middle, you've got your, is it Sludge Raker? That thing?
Yeah. So
you've got that in range of the objective.
There's quite a crucial rule about the Sludge Breaker, which again I completely forgot, like a complete numpty. Basically, he has Sludge Raker Venom, and what that means is you add 1 to the number of mortal wounds caused by venom encrusted weapons. So that means within 12 inch. If any of my units are wholly within 12 inch of that big beast at the front, basically they do dish out 2 mortal wounds on rolls of 6s. What do you think of that, Andy?
That's pretty good. I think you did remember that at one point during the game, but we shall see.
Yeah.
So you also can't spread out your forces too much if you're looking to use all these synergies that involve you being wholly within a certain distance. 12 inches, though, is quite a big distance, and you haven't got any huge units apart from the Hobgrots who are nowhere near. And they don't benefit from it anyway, do they? Now, over there, you've sent your boss, the mounted one, over to that objective on his own. Some might see it as a risk. Is it some kind of bait, perhaps?
It's definitely a risk, isn't it? Also, the Trog, the line breaker Trog boss there, he's only got movement 5. So, I was really risking. Where do I put him? Do I defend do I defend my artillery? Do I put him within reach of everyone, or do I try and get to a command point thing myself? An objective marker myself. So caught between a rock and a hard place there.
Well, you chose these two big beasties to be part of the 3 units that have to be in range of each other after running, along with the battle line unit you've got there. So it was those 3 that all ran up and stayed close to each other. So you are going to score maximum points. So was there any thinking behind going for all 3 objectives rather than just focusing on 2?
Yes, it was. What I was hoping to do was get some points in, and then maybe use a retreat move with the guy on that mount there on the right.
Okay, so once you'd drawn my forces over there, you were then going to run away. That was the plan.
I did want to spread you thin, and I wanted to give you things to think about. Do you know what I mean?
Makes sense.
Otherwise, you might just focus all your forces, and I can't match you 1-for-1.
Okay, so there is the overview there. You didn't get much shooting in that turn. So
you didn't get any shooting in.
Yeah, so you've lost some of the benefit from your forces, haven't you? Because you have that special rule that gives them better shooting in the first round, don't you?
All of the benefit. I mean, there is. I think, can't remember what you call it. Is it a battle trait that I forgot to do? But you can. One of the battle traits is you can cover one of your units or a few of your units in mud, and basically that means they're invisible in the first round to you. Completely invisible, so you can't attack them or charge them or shoot them.
Yes.
So that could have been an interesting one to put on my artillery.
That could have been, definitely. Something else I've just remembered, when it comes to command points in this game, I've got 2 separate heroes that have command abilities, or the ability to use command abilities without spending a command point. So I'm probably going to have a surplus of points.
I think also from experience, Andy, when you've got 3 objectives, it's really important to hold the centre. Don't you think?
That is probably true, because if you can focus on just a small portion of the battlefield between the centre and one of the side objectives, if you can hold just that area, for example, if you had the Sludge Raker right in the middle there and everybody else benefiting from his 12-inch radius.
Yeah, that could have been good, or maybe I should have just focused on 2 rather than all 3.
Well, we'll see how it goes for you.
Yeah.
Because we're about to go into turn 1 for the Stormcast. So you did accumulate 5 victory points, which is the maximum. You're holding 1 objective, 2 objectives, and more than me. And then you also completed your battle tactic to keep those units together. So that's 5 points. So maximum for turn 1. You can't be too disappointed with that.
No, I think that's a record for me.
Yes. Then we're moving on to my first turn, and I chose Conquer as my battle tactic. Pick 1 objective that your opponent controls. You complete this battle tactic, but you control that objective at the end of this turn. So the one I've chosen is the one at the top there, which is held by your mounted hero.
Yeah.
And thinking that, well, that's the only model there. I'm about to send things after him. So I can definitely swamp it with Liberators at the very least and get enough of them in range to claim that one, regardless of whether I can kill him or not. So,
but can they reach is the question.
Yes, that seems like the only question. And a bit of an easy steal in my book. So, the Dracoths are making their way towards the Hobgrots, and they're thinking, that's going to be a pretty easy fight. They're the only unit that isn't going to dish out mortal wounds. I'm going to fail a few saves over the course of the game, fighting them, but they're not going to last that long against the onslaught that's being delivered here. And I can also keep Mystic shielding the Dracoths with the Knight Incanter there as well. So when they are fighting the Hobgrots, there's even less chance of them doing anything.
As if they needed any help anyway. But I don't know. Do you know certain times of year, Andy, we get plagues, don't we? Do you remember sometimes when you're a kid, there'd be a certain day of the year where you'd get those sort of flying ants?
Yes.
And you might see loads of them. Well, that reminds me of what Hobgrots are like. They're just basically like these flying ants that just sort of, they don't really do anything. They just sort of buzz around and people tread on them. So that's a nice analogy to use in this battle, isn't it?
Well, if anyone has any advice on how to use Hobgrots in a way that's not similar to the kind of fleeting flying ant swarm, then feel free to offer up some tactical advice to Remington in there. over up here, you can see that the Lord Imperator and the Liberators are making their way up there. You can see the Annihilators have dropped down right behind him as well, but they're equidistant from him and the bow. What are they called again? There's the Kill Bow and there's the Bolt Boys. Okay, so they're 7 inches away from them and from him. They can land that close because of the presence of the Lord Imperator.
Seems fair.
And then having to drop a hefty 9 inches away, Bastian, who can't deploy quite as close because it only benefits 1 unit, that rule. So he is 9 inches away from the Kill Bow and also this hero there. And over here we've got the Retributors who are 9 inches away from a little collection of your heroes over on this side. By the way, did you mention this endless spell that you took?
Yeah, I did took the Burning Head endless spell. I mean, it looks nice. It didn't get a chance to do anything in this battle, but just showing it off, really.
Well, there you go. So you can see that the Lord Imperator succeeded in his charge into your hero here and has inflicted wounds on him. I think the wounds might have been inflicted from a shooting attack.
Yeah. I was quite pleased that he was the only one to make the charge.
I think
I did quite fancy my chances.
I think it was when the Annihilators dropped down and there's a chance that there are mortal wounds to surrounding units, and they did 3 mortal wounds to him when they came in.
Yeah, that's it.
So that's what it was. And then Imperatant's got in there, so I'm hoping to get him seriously wounded.
Well, I do have 7 wounds left, and he's got some decent attacks, especially the Gnash Tooth. Oh my god.
You can see here, the Annihilators did make it into the Bolt Boys, and when they charge in, there are 2 things that happen. One is that you can unleash hell on them, which you did, which is why one of them's dead. And also, they have their kind of impact hits, as we used to call them.
Yeah.
So any unit that gets charged by them is going to take some damage, and you can see one of them has died before the combat's begun. So 1 casualty per side so far. So what I wanted to do was probably get the Ether Wings in there as well. But it was too much ground cover for them, and they didn't quite make it. So another thing you can potentially do is drop in some Prosecutors who have a 3 dice charge instead of 2. So then they can absorb your Unleash Hell, allowing the Annihilators to get in unharmed. But unfortunately, one of them has dropped already. But they're into the meat of your army now, which is the important thing.
I mean, Andy, I was quite impressed with the stand and shoot thing, because those guys, they got 3 wounds each, am I right?
Yes. What I will say, if there's one army that doesn't mind unleashing hell, then it's probably the Kruleboyz, because you don't care about -1 to hit, because you're always looking for 6s anyway, because you want those mortal wounds.
That's right.
So it doesn't actually harm your chances, really, of killing anybody, having to unleash hell. So if you had a big unit of 6 of these, that would be really dangerous.
I mean, there was a moment where I thought I actually took 2 out, but I think there was some reason I didn't quite get 2 off.
Yes, so my understanding is that the rule, the kind of the lightning impact hit of the Annihilators would go off before Unleash Hell. That's my understanding of the rules. If anyone knows that to be incorrect, then let us know in the chat or the comments, because it would be important to know that for future games. But that's my understanding at the moment.
Yeah, and also because I think it's because it's in the first turn, I did get to reroll 1s maybe with the shooting, which means that even though it's -1 to hit,
I'm not sure, that might only be in the shooting phase. I have to see how that one's worded.
Well, there you go. I think that those 3 guys, in my head, I thought that's your most powerful unit.
Well, they're definitely the most powerful unit in terms of hitting you in the face.
Yeah.
And they're about to do that. But the Concussors are pretty hitty as well, and they've got into the Hobgrots, who have lost 1 to the kind of lightning breath attack of the Dracoths on the way in.
Yeah,
nothing else was in range.
Now remember, Andy, I would have done the stand and shoot, unleash hell with these guys. So, but you can only do it with 1 unit per turn, can't you?
Yes,
that
is true.
Was either with the Hobgrots or with the others. And I'm not being funny, but you don't really fancy flying ants to just sort of do anything to giant mounted golden armored warriors.
Well, on the one hand, you've got 20 of them, so that's going to be a lot of shots. But on the other hand, they also don't have the ability to do those auto mortal wounds.
Yeah, and on the other hand, they're not very good shots either. So I think, you know,
Yes, there is that.
at -1 as well. But put it this way, I wouldn't kill anyone.
So it looks like you've put all-out defense onto your hero here. So he's only taken one further wound from the Lord Imperatant in combat. I was a bit disappointed with the Imperatant's rolling there. You can see his lovely hairstyle.
Well, Andy, let me just correct you. Hey, Kevin Mitchell, how you doing? It wasn't the Imperatant that did the wound. It was your dog.
That would make sense, actually. The beacon claws, I think, did the one wound that got through.
Did I get any wounds on you?
You may do, but not yet. We haven't reached that stage.
Ah, yes. All right, okay.
And here, the Bolt Boys actually did a wound to an Annihilator in combat, thinking they might as well strike and get the hit in before they're both dead, which they will be shortly, but they've done some damage. And I don't have any healing abilities in this army whatsoever, apart from a lucky rally roll. So then the Concussors take out half the Hobgrots, as you'd expect. They actually didn't roll that well, and still killed half the unit.
Unbelievable. And bear in mind, I've had an extra 10 Hobgrots, so really I could only afford 10.
And
I chose 20.
Bear in mind, I put all-out attack on them as well. So it's very disappointing not to kill almost the entire unit.
And is disappointed he didn't kill 20 in one battle round. So that should tell you everything.
Yes. And then when they hit back, they actually do a wound to a Concussor as well.
Which is phenomenal. Which is like, that's just like a victory to me.
I haven't killed enough of them to claim this objective either.
Which is comedy moment.
Yes. So I'm losing out on points in the first turn there. The Annihilators do kill all the Bolt Boys, obviously. Quite handily, might I add, in combat. And over on this side, the Imperatant takes 2 wounds from your hero. So that fight is kind of in the balance, but I do have Liberators on their way in to help. And you can see the layout of the battlefield. So I've just got this objective, because these 2 Liberators are just about within 6 inches. And this hero is not a monster, so it's only worth 2 models for holding objective purposes, and I've got 3 within range, so I'm holding that one, and that's the only one I'm holding. So I'm just going to get a point for that, and then I'm going to get my battle tactic for taking it off you, which is going to be... I think it's 3 points. I think you get double battle tactics in this scenario.
It's funny, Andy, but that last photo, just looking at that, I think I would have chosen a different course of action if I was watching the table from your side. Because I can see here that it might have been advantageous to wheel the center point of my army and get over to help that Gnashtooth boss out, if I could, and just completely take out that side of your army. Because I think I would have a good chance of doing that with my Sludge Raker Beast and my Giant Troggoth.
That is a definite possibility, but we don't know who's going to go next.
No, of course.
So, I only got 3 victory points for that round, so I am behind there as a result of failing to hold all the objectives in that round. So going first did get you some more, but then we've got the roll-off to see if I can get a double turn or not. And I actually do get the double turn, as you can see. So that's bad news in Remtown, that's all I can say. However, there is some good news, because in my haste I forgot that your main battle line unit have 2 wounds each. So I went for the Broken Ranks battle tactic. Pick 1 battle line unit from your opponent's starting army on the battlefield and then complete it if you kill them. So I went for this unit thinking Bastian's in range now. He can move up there and charge them and he'll just kill 10 of them easily. But upon realising they had 2 wounds each, that's not actually going to happen, so it's a total waste of a battle tactic for this round. So not the best victory point play there. And in the hero phase I've gone for Finest Hour on the Lord Imperatant because this is an important combat here with your big beastie, and I've got to make the most of this double turn because you could get a double after this. So I've got to kill as much as possible. And Dracoth's still stuck in there. And you put Finest Hour as well on your hero, so we obviously both think that's an important combat. And
yeah, as I said, if I'd have won that turn, I probably would have retreated out of that combat, knowing that your Liberators were coming in.
Yes. And following up, the Liberators do successfully get in there with the charge, which is nice.
think it's fair to say it's going to be good night to the killer boss on Nash Tooth.
The Annihilators charge in here, and they haven't decided what they want to fight yet, which is the reason for that. So I put them right in the middle of all your units so I can just swing at whoever I want before they die.
Yeah, and Bastian's in there at the back. We've got to speed this up, Andy. We've got our show in 10 minutes.
Well, I think we might have to postpone the start of that a little bit. But the Ether Wings have charged in as well. And they were hoping to eat some unleashed hell from the kill bow at the back there, but they didn't make it far enough with the charge to reach it. So they decided, why not just go for the Troggoth to give it a bit of a distraction instead, see if we can make someone attack us and waste their time. Bastian has come in to attack that unit in the middle. So Bastian and the Annihilators together could potentially take out that unit, but it's still a bit of a stretch with 20 wounds there to dish out.
Now, Andy, I don't know if I'm jumping the gun, but I believe I did do Unleash Hell with that kill bow.
I think you were able to.
And I think I missed.
Yeah, I think you missed Bastian with it.
So 130 points literally wasted there. And yeah.
What about this fight here? Your Shaman. Surrounded by 5 Retributors. I don't think that's going to end well for him. Spoiler alert.
Andy, I don't think the flash on your camera is doing my paint jobs any justice, to be honest.
I don't think it is, but I didn't trust the lighting in Warhammer World to sufficiently show off the models.
Well,
but maybe I'll give it a go next time with just the natural lighting.
Give it a go, but suffice to say, that guy got caught literally with his pants down because I couldn't move him in the first turn because he was making a potion. So there you go. He got caught there, and
so there's one thing you could have done perhaps if you were willing to use a command point on it, which is of course to redeploy that model if you wanted to get him away. But you were saving. No, you were saving your command points, weren't you? Because you only had a couple, and I think you wanted them to use on the combats.
Well, yeah, I did Finest Hour and I already done Unleash Hell, so I don't know if I had a further one to use. But yeah, I've never redeployed, so that might be something I should try next time, because he is definitely worth keeping alive, that guy.
So the Annihilators went first, and they killed the Killbow, which I decided I'm not going to kill that whole unit, so I'm just going to give up on that battle tactic and try and take out the Killbow. And then the other guy, I believe he hit the Sludge Raker, and it looks like it's up to 7 wounds now.
The Killbow's got a few wounds, so did you do that because you were charging in again? How did you manage?
They got the bonus for charging in, so they would have done damage through that, and also they just kick butt. We've got 7 wounds on the Sludge Raker, which also took some damage from something else. I think one of the Dracoth shooting attacks may have damaged it because it was in range now, possibly something like that.
At this point, I didn't really care because it was just.
Oh no, it didn't actually, because they had to target the Hobgrots, so something else may have hit that. I think it was Bastian calling down lightning from the heavens onto it.
I mean, it seems fair. Every turn he can just auto wound a load of creatures, but at this point, I was just take my models off. It doesn't matter. Who cares? I only spent like 6 months painting them, right?
So your hero here activates and doesn't do any wounds, as far as I recall. Yeah, actually, may have killed one Liberator. No, I don't think he even did that. I think you may have put your attacks on the Imperator and did nothing.
I think I've got 3 wounds through, or something like that, and you did a 4 up to save, and as usual, you just saved all 3. So
yes,
I just accept that that's just the way it is playing Andy.
Hobgrots are dead, so the Dracoths have got this objective now. On turn 2.
How much are those Dracoths, by the way?
Well, I can tell you exactly how much they are, because in the app I can reveal that they are 220 points for 2 of them.
Okay, so 220 points. My Hobgrots were 160 points. So you tell me if that's fair. You managed to get 20 wounds. I managed to get 1 wound.
Well, the number of models, though, is very important in this game.
So shouldn't they be 20 times more expensive?
There's less wounds in my unit, so if you were able to dish out mortal wounds to them, could have been quite a big deal.
Wow.
In the middle, what's going on here? Well, all-out defense has been played on the Annihilators because you're about to hit them with something. And one of them still dies as a result of it, but there is one left alive. For now. The Retributors obviously kill your mage, because look at them.
Did I take anyone out? No.
You did not. And you chose not to pile in with the hero that was down there that could have gone to attack them as well. Then an Ether Wing is killed. Oh no.
I think at this point, Andy, my sole objective in this battle was just to take out your ether wings. That would have been a great victory for me because I've never taken them out in a battle against you before.
You can
So I
see
thought,
you did kill the Annihilators, though.
I did with a massive amount of a focused attack.
Yes. So
I
all
think
three of
my
them have been
Trolloth
they've been
is
put
actually
back
quite.
into the biscuit tin here.
Yeah, that's nice to see, isn't it? That's where they belong, with the lid on.
And then Bastian kills off a huge swathe of your unit there. So when
Yeah,
he did that, I was thinking, you know what? The Annihilators should have just attacked that unit, and I could have got my battle tactic. But oh well.
Yeah, possibly. So basically, what you're looking at there is Bastian with the ability of taking 16 wounds off when in combat, only managed to take off 12 wounds.
Yes.
What a bit of disappointment there. So, what can you say?
Oh well.
So it looks like at this point, Andy, if we're saying those almost all my battle lines been taken out by turn 2.
You can see the ether wings are dead though, as a result of these units fighting. And up
Yeah.
here, I don't think much was accomplished on either side in this combat up here.
Yeah, which means, Andy, I think I wasn't on many wounds left there, which means I could have done a retreat.
In the next turn, you do have that option.
Yeah, I mean, but what do you do? Do you retreat and go into Bastion? I mean, the guy's just, unkillable.
Well, let's find out. So I've got that objective. I've also got the side objective here on the left. So holding 2 of them means I'm going to score maximum primary victory points, but I'm not going to score the battle tactic after that blunder. So I've taken the lead slightly, but I have had an additional turn. So you can score in your next turn, and you choose for your battle tactic conquer. So you pick one that I'm controlling, and you're going to try and take it from me. And you pick the one that is that the one that you... Hold on, where is it? I normally take a picture of the objective right afterwards, but I assume it is this one up here with the Liberators on it, because you're sending things in that direction. You were weighing up whether to send the Troggoth and the Sludge Raker over there.
I don't know why I wouldn't have done that. I think, at this point, bear in mind, this is the first time I've been able to move for a while, because Andy's had like double turns on me. And by the time I've been able to move, half my army's dead. So at this point, the guy with the standard on the left is literally just going to be a speed bump, and it's all about how much damage can my monsters do against Andy.
Yes. One notable thing before we go on as well, you moved this guy with the stab grot closer to the Retributors, and I decided, you know what, they're really slow, so why don't I take this opportunity to get a move for free with them and redeploy them. And I think I actually rolled a 6 as well, so they ended up redeploying 6 inches closer to the main area of the battle as a result of you moving near them. So that was good.
Yeah, again, he's another speed bump because he's not going to take out the Dracoths, and he's not going to take out those 5 dudes with hammers. So absolutely useless unit in this situation. I mean, Andy's managed to isolate my units and just pick them off one by one. So there you go.
That would appear to be the case. And then moving on, you can see here that the Troggoth decides not to head over there, decides to stick around and fight the units in this area in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the Sludge Raker, I thought, if I'm charging in with my bonuses and stuff, if I can pick up your one of your commanders and stuff him in one of my cages, there's a good chance I can destroy 5 Liberators and that hero, especially because my Nashtooth is still alive. So then I thought, okay, well, he should be enough to take them out. However, he had been diminished a little bit because he's been wounded. But then I thought, let's see what my general can do. Maybe if I get the first attack in, I can take out a bunch of these hammer dudes. Retributors, is it?
Yes.
Because they've got 3 wounds each, 2 wounds each.
They have 3. But you do get the Sludge Raker into the Liberators and the Imperator up there. And the Troggoth does get into the Retributors. However, what I noticed is that probably drew him within 3 inches of Bastian. So I could potentially just reach over that unit in the middle and give him a whack with Bastian's hammer. which has an impressive 2-inch range, I think, as well.
Yeah, now this is something I didn't foresee doing, and it really looked like game shenanigans from Andy. It's just like as if he hasn't completely annihilated my army. He won't give me one moment of victory there, and so I didn't. I don't know if my Troggoth even swung at those guys.
Well, I think he did, but let's just have a look here. So, I think I did actually unleash hell, didn't I? Oh no, I couldn't have done over here because there's another unit too close. So I don't think I had the chance to use it at all because I don't really have many missile attacks. I think the Imperator has a small one.
Oh, you can see there, yeah.
Here.
So my brute Troggoth did get the first attack in.
Yes.
Which was something, and I did manage to sweep aside in complete vengeance 3 of those retributors. Wouldn't it be lovely if they just ran away now? But oh no, Stormcast never do that as well.
Yes, so, they don't like running away very much, and also they explode and they hurt you when they die. Don't forget that.
So I mean, people tell me these guys aren't overpowered, but there you go.
Your mounted hero here, whose name I've forgotten, has been killed as a result of the Imperatant.
Yes, unfortunately, he only had a couple of wounds left, and it was like, which unit do I use first to attack? And so I did choose the Troggoth. That left Andy open to attack with these guys and did the deed.
Yes, he's now dead. And at that point, the Liberators are able to attack the Sludge Raker and not do much because they're Liberators.
Yeah, and at this point, this is where I forgot my... my monstrous ability, because he's a monster, so I can come in and stop you from doing command points, or I can stomp on you.
Yes.
I completely forgot about that, or maybe I did it and just missed. I
forgot about the monstrous rampage, but in the middle, Bastian, who already had Finest Hour on him, also has all-out attack now, and then he reached across and whacked your Troggoth brute.
Which I just still think shouldn't have been allowed, but at this point it really didn't matter. This game was only going one way.
So he's dead, and it's not looking good for the Kruleboyz at this point. Did you actually do some wounds to Bastian, though, don't you?
I did do some wounds to Bastian, yeah. I did do 2 or 3 wounds, I think, but obviously he just heals them. He just kills someone and heals them all.
Didn't the Retributors kill your hero that was standing behind them as well?
Yeah, they absolutely truncated him. No problem at all.
Yes.
No problem. I mean, how much are those Retributors again?
The Retributors are 235 points for 5.
So 235 points for 5, 3 wounds each. That's 15 wounds. And what I paid for my hero, I can tell you, was only 110 points. And for that, I get 6 wounds.
But you also get abilities.
The ability is to die.
Yes.
Really quickly.
That's one of them. Ability. You do swipe down a few Liberators with this big beastie, though.
Oh, hold on. Here's a great ability from that guy. He can designate a wound to the stab grot instead of himself, which I think is really useful. It's not, because I think he probably dished out 10 wounds on me, so made no difference.
Well, there you go. Some Liberators died, and in the middle, it's not looking very healthy, but we're 2 turns each in now. There's not a lot of Kruleboyz left, but you are actually holding on to... Let's see. You've killed just enough to hold this objective because you're a monster, so you're worth 5, and there are only 3 models here, so you're holding that one. The middle one, I think you might actually be still holding, because I haven't moved on to it. So I believe you are getting maximum points for the scenario, and you did take that objective off me as well, so you are getting your battle tactic. So you're getting max points again, so 5.
I remember feeling at this point, Andy, that, actually, although my army's been completely decimated, there might be a way I can actually rank up the points, especially if I get priority in the next turn.
Yes, if you get priority in the next round and you could somehow get max points again, then it would actually put me in a difficult situation because I'd only have 3 rounds left to overtake your points total. So, battle tactic. And unfortunately, I get the roll off though. So
of course.
So it's me going next. I choose bring it down, pick an enemy monster to kill, and kill that for extra points. So Well, it's not going to end well in this turn for the Kruleboyz, let's just say that. So Bastian used his From the Heavens lightning ability to put some more wounds onto the Sludge Raker. It's not going to help him, is it? He's then killed by something else. I think he was killed in combat by the Lord Imperatant immediately, with all that attack played on him.
Just to rub the already great sense of shame, I believe it was your Griffhound that killed him.
It may have been the Griffhound that did the final blow, yes, for the final wound. Bastian and the Retributor, of course, sweep up the last troops there. And that's everybody. The Concussors kill off your final standard bearer hero that was chilling out there. So all the Kruleboyz are dead.
It's like 3 turns, all dead. And that is a game where I had, I think almost 200 points more than Andy.
Yes, so I got maximum points, putting me up to 11 points, and you on 10, and you've got no more models left to score points with, unfortunately. So that's going to be the end of it.
Yeah. So, I don't know. The word overpowered comes into mind, but maybe just terrible tactics from me. I'm not quite sure. First time I've played Kruleboyz, I actually, on the day, I wasn't as miserable as I sound right now. I actually enjoyed it. It was quite good fun.
Yeah, it was faster than some other games. The Kruleboyz seem to be a bit more straightforward for the most part.
It is straightforward, Andy, especially when you forget or don't use most of their best rules. That makes the game a lot quicker, right? If you just sacrifice yourself. That's what I've found. So that's me looking at some nice painted models again.
So some things you might have learned from that, I would say, mainly the Sludge Raker and its 12-inch bubble that you want to be getting units into to get those extra mortal wounds, very useful against Stormcast. Keeping units together, obviously, is part of that as well.
Andy, we must mention that the whole reason I took the Sludge Raker was just so I could do one comedy moment where I could pick up one of your heroes and stick him in my cage.
Yeah, you were trying to do that on the Lord Imperatant, weren't you?
Yes, so I think I needed to roll an 8 up on 2 dice. And this is where I realised that if I'd actually used the name character, it would have been a 7 up rather than more than 7, right? That's the difference. So it was more than a 7. So basically, I needed to roll an 8, and I rolled a 7.
So on average, the named character would pick up the Lord Imperatant and stick him in his cage.
Yes, but he cost 15 points more.
That sounds like a very small price to pay, actually.
He does have another special rule, which is really awful. But it's like basically you pick a hobgrot unit, and they decide on one of your battle line units which you think is going to get killed first. Which is quite funny because it is interesting finding out, trying to put bets on who gets killed because they're all going to die by at least turn 3 or maximum turn 3. And if that battle line unit does get destroyed, then you get a victory point or something like that. It's like that's really meh. So I didn't choose it. But yeah, I mean, it was embarrassing, highly embarrassing, and I'm embarrassed. I painted so many miniatures, put so many care into it, and it was literally a tabling.
Well, to be fair though, you've never played that army before, and I can exclusively reveal that there is another game planned tomorrow, in fact.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to another absolute trouncing because I don't know what I can do to. I mean, I don't know. I'd like to face different armies and whatnot, but I mean, obviously, you're sort of limited by what you have. And
Yes.
Andy has almost every Stormcast model, and they're just really hard to beat, even if you've got 200 points more than him.
I can tell you exclusively that I'm going to try to bring 0 of the same models for the next battle. And I may even throw in some Caradron Overlord allies. Because I don't have a balanced enough force of those to actually put out a full army yet, because I need to finish painting the Ironclad. But they could definitely come in as allies for the Stormcast.
I've got you. One thing to add is that I did use all the Kruleboyz I had. I mean, I don't have any more Kruleboyz models at this point.
Yes.
But I have got more Kruleboyz, not Kruleboyz, the crossbow guys.
Bolt Boys.
Yeah, I've got more Bolt Boys. So, Is that really going to make a difference? I don't know. I mean, I could try and get rid of the hobgrots because they are a joke, and maybe swap them out for some night goblins. I'm not sure. I'm looking at options. But I love the trog. I love the trog boss, and I love the sludge raker beast, and I love the Gnash tooth. I think those three are good.
You've got the option for
we'll
a flying monster as well, haven't you? You've got a wyvern that you could have to represent one of the flying heroes.
Yeah, but with 1,500 points, there's just not enough. I can't do it.
Well, we can still negotiate on the points limit for tomorrow. I haven't finalised my list yet.
Yeah, I mean, remember, you can pick the list what you want, right? But when the battle tactics come in and, the scenario comes in, that makes a huge difference.
Yes. So, for anyone who's watching this live, if you stick around on this channel, there'll be another video coming up very shortly, which is, obviously, the Andy and Rem Show. It is Tuesday, after all. And stay tuned for that. I'm going to bring up the episode thumbnail now. So, thanks for joining us. I can't encourage you to give us any money, obviously, because that would be against the rules of Warhammer World, who don't want their footage or pictures used on commercial content. So for the purposes of this video, do not send me your money at this moment. Maybe later, but not right now. Anyway, all that remains to be said is good night for the next couple of minutes, whatever you are, and see you for the show very shortly.